Meanwhile, in the volatile world of geopolitics, Turkey is playing a dangerous game. President Erdogan is silently flipping alliances, one that could change the balance of power in the Middle East. Today, we are re-diving deep into Turkey's evolving relationship with Israel and why this shift is causing ripples far beyond the region. But first, let me tell you a story. A young boy was walking through the woods when he came across an old man sitting on a tree stump. The boy asked the man what he was doing, and the man replied, "I'm waiting for my wife to come back. She went into the forest to gather some herbs, and will be back soon." The boy sat down on another stump nearby to wait with him. After a few minutes, the man turned to the boy and said, "How old are you?" "I'm 10 years old," replied the boy. The man then said, "In 10 more years, you will be twice as old as I am now. Can you guess my age?" Puzzled by the riddle, the boy thought for a moment before asking, "Are you 20? The man smiled and said, "No, I'm older than that. Guess again." The boy pondered for a bit longer and then asked, "Are you 40? Once again, the man smiled and said, "You're getting closer, but I'm still older. Try one more time." The boy took a deep breath and said, "Are you 50? "That's right," exclaimed the man. "I'm 50 years old." The boy looked at the man and asked, "If you re-50 now, and you told me that in 10 years I'll be twice your age, does that mean that in 20 years you'll be 100 years old?" The man was taken aback by the boy's logic and couldn't help but laugh. "Well, that's a good question," he said. "But it seems like you've got a sharp mind for your age. Keep it up." So the boy and the man continued to chat until the man's wife returned from her errand. Now, why did I share this story with you? Because like that wise old man, Turkey under Erdogan's leadership has made some baffling moves that have left many scratching their heads. In an unexpected turn of events, Turkey has announced plans to restore diplomatic ties with Israel. This comes as a surprise, considering Turkey's past vocal criticism of Israel's policies towards Palestinians. But politics, much like life, is full of twists and turns. So what's really going on here? And what does this mean for the future of the region? We all remember those tense moments when Hamas launched rockets from Gaza into Israeli territory, prompting Israel to respond with airstrikes. Amidst this turmoil, Turkey found itself in a unique position. As a predominantly Muslim country with close ties to Israel, Turkey's reaction carried significant weight. Surprisingly, instead of condemning Israel's actions, Erdogan expressed support for Israel's right to defend itself. Even more surprisingly, he reached out to Netanyahu directly, offering condolences over the loss of civilian lives on both sides. While stopping short of expressing regret over his own support for Hamas, Erdogan emphasized the need for calm and de-escalation. He called for an immediate end to the hostilities and urged restraint to prevent further violence. Interestingly, Erdogan's stance seemed to evolve as the situation escalated. Initially, he condemned Israel's airstrikes as a violation of international law. However, he appeared to soften his stance as the conflict dragged on. His shifting rhetoric reflects a complex web of political calculations. It's aimed at balancing Turkey's interests in its relationships with various regional players. Fast forward to the present day, and the dynamics have shifted yet again. What seemed like an unbreakable alliance between Turkey and Israel is now showing signs of strain. But before we dive into the reasons behind this apparent shift, let's take a closer look at the history of these two nations and their relationship. Israel, nestled in the Middle East, is a nation with deep historical roots. For centuries, the land of Israel held immense religious significance for Jews worldwide. But it wasn't until 1948 that the modern state of Israel was officially established. In the midst of the turbulent political climate of the time, Israel found itself surrounded by numerous Arab nations. Over the years, this geographical reality has led to several conflicts between Israel and its neighboring countries. One such conflict was the Arab-Israeli conflict, a multifaceted struggle primarily involving Israel and several Arab nations, most notably Palestine. This protracted conflict has resulted in numerous wars and tensions over disputed territories such as Palestine and Jerusalem. Turkey, on the other hand, is a transcontinental nation straddling both Europe and Asia, with a rich history spanning centuries. Turkey has played a pivotal role in global geopolitics. In recent times, Turkey's foreign policy has been marked by a growing assertiveness, particularly in the Middle East region. The initial phase of Turkey's relationship with Israel can be characterized as cautious engagement. Both nations recognized the strategic value of establishing diplomatic relations, but their interactions were limited due to various factors. One notable aspect of this early relationship was the emphasis on economic cooperation. Trade agreements and investment ventures formed the cornerstone of their partnership. Israel, with its advanced technological capabilities, offered potential collaboration opportunities in sectors such as agriculture and industry. Meanwhile, Turkey's strategic location and access to regional markets proved attractive to Israeli businesses. These economic ties served as a foundation for further diplomatic cooperation. However, the trajectory of their relationship took a significant shift following the Mavi Marmara incident. In May 2010, a Turkish vessel, called the Mavi Marmara, attempted to break Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip, which had been imposed to prevent weapons smuggling. The incident resulted in the deaths of several Turkish nationals, including prominent figures. This event had a profound impact on public opinion in Turkey and generated widespread anger against Israel. The incident not only strained diplomatic ties, but also fueled anti-Israel sentiment within Turkish society. The Turkish government under Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan strongly condemned Israel's response to the Mavi Marmara incident. They viewed it as a disproportionate use of force and a violation of international law. The incident led to a deterioration in relations as Turkey began to criticize Israeli policies towards Palestinians. Erdogan frequently used international platforms to denounce Israel, its occupation of Palestinian territories, and its treatment of Palestinians living under Israeli control. However, despite these tensions, diplomatic relations between Turkey and Israel were maintained. Throughout this period, there were sporadic efforts to repair the relationship. For instance, in 2013, both nations reached a reconciliation agreement known as the Normalization Deal. The agreement aimed to restore full diplomatic relations and compensate the families of those involved in the Mavi Marmara incident. Despite these reconciliation efforts, the underlying tensions remained, particularly regarding Israel's ongoing conflict with Palestine. Erdogan's vocal support for Palestine resonated with a significant portion of the Muslim world, who saw it as a challenge to the existing power structures. Moreover, Turkey's decision to recognize the state of Palestine in 2010 further solidified its commitment to the Palestinian cause. This recognition was seen as a symbolic gesture of solidarity with Palestine's struggle for statehood and self-determination. Furthermore, Turkey's provision of humanitarian aid to Palestine contributed to its reputation as a staunch supporter of the Palestinian people. By providing essential assistance during times of crisis, Turkey demonstrated its commitment to alleviating the suffering of Palestinians living under Israeli occupation. Today, as the conflict rages on, Turkey stands firm in its support for Palestine, denouncing Israeli actions and advocating for a just resolution. Yet, amidst this unwavering support, a surprising turn of events has occurred. Now Turkey is extending an olive branch to Israel, a move that has left many questioning the motives and implications of this shift in relations. So why is Turkey seemingly changing its tune? Well, the answer lies in a complex web of political considerations that Erdogan has carefully weighed. Firstly, there's the Palestinian factor. Despite its vocal support for Palestine, Turkey has often been criticized for not doing enough to concretely support the Palestinian cause. Re-establishing relations with Israel could be seen as a way for Turkey to deflect such criticism and demonstrate its commitment to engaging with all parties involved in the conflict. Secondly, Turkey's domestic political situation plays a crucial role in its foreign policy decisions. Erdogan's government faces numerous challenges, and maintaining a confrontational stance with Israel may not be in the best interest of his regime. By mending ties with Israel, Turkey could potentially gain valuable diplomatic and economic leverage both domestically and regionally. Thirdly, there's the broader geopolitical context. Turkey's assertive foreign policy in recent years has often put it at odds with Western powers. Restoring relations with Israel, a key U.S. ally in the region, would be a strategic move to improve Turkey's standing in the eyes of the West and potentially open doors for greater cooperation in areas of mutual interest. However, it's important to note that while Turkey may be restoring formal diplomatic ties with Israel, it doesn't necessarily mean a complete reversal of its stance on Palestine. Erdogan has carefully crafted his message to emphasize the need for a just solution to the Palestinian cause. Nevertheless, critics argue that engaging with Israel could undermine Turkey's moral authority on the issue. As the dust settles on this latest chapter in Turkey's foreign policy, one thing becomes increasingly clear: Turkey under Erdogan's leadership is not bound by rigid ideological constraints. It's a nation willing to adapt and change course when it perceives it's in its best interest. Whether this shift towards restoring ties with Israel will indeed bring about positive outcomes for Turkey remains to be seen. Only time will tell how this evolving relationship will shape the future of geopolitics in the Middle East and beyond. What do you think of Erdogan's Turkey? Will the restoration of ties with Israel bring about positive change? Share your thoughts below. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more insightful geopolitical videos. Thanks for watching.